Today's video, RC drivers, is all about the Traxxas Maxx Slash. The truck's been out for a little while at this point, and I've actually had it since the first week Traxxas released it, but I wanted to do something different with it since so many reviews instantly came out on the truck, and I finally figured out what I'm gonna do with it. I'm gonna give you guys a quick run through on what makes this truck so special, and then I'm gonna turn it into an ultimate Maxx Slash. You can see the body very closely resembles the 1/10 scale Slash, and there are a number of changes. A little bit of shape difference to the hood. Of course, it's enlarged, but they've got some really cool features on it. One of them being they have their clipless system. They have some roof skids, and as you can see, they have these hard plastic pieces now to absorb that impact and won't crush the Lexan. And the other thing that I really like is they now have these little clips on the side that go into the Nerf bars that are attached to the chassis. The other thing I really like is they went and cut out some holes in the back from the factory, and that helps relieve some of the air that gets trapped underneath the body. But this is what I wanted to show you. Down below, they have a wheelie bar, and it's not the same wheelie bar that's off the Maxx. This one you could actually tune, I guess. As it comes from the factory, it's set up for off-road. It's kind of on an up angle, and you could actually unscrew it, flip it over, and that will change the angle down. So if you go and drive this on-road, you'll have that better support. Underneath the body, they have an inner skeleton. Check it out. It runs from the front all the way to the back body mounts. The chassis is going to look like a Maxx chassis at first glance, but it's actually quite different. This is a low CG chassis. Check out the battery mount here. So this will take a 4S pack or two 3S packs, depending on what you want to run. And it's got the holes in it, so you could go and put a body clip through the holes to support that upper tray so it doesn't pop out in hardcore bashing. So I like that. Foam pads around everything so your batteries don't bounce around inside that. And then look at the shock towers. They are a little bit different from the Maxx shock towers. I actually tried to throw the Maxx body on this, and beyond the wheelbase, it just didn't clip in right. Front, they've got the twin crank steering, similar to what we've seen before from Traxxas. Servo saver built in. Looks like they got a large spring on that. Metal ball studs and fixed links. Let's talk about the suspension, and that is actually very Maxx-like, but there are some changes to it, starting off with the arms. These are a shorter version of the arm. And then it's got the Maxx C carriers on the outside, steering knuckles, which are dual shear, GTR shocks, front and rear blue anodized. And then in the rear, something interesting. So what they've done is they've added this extension plate down on the arm, and this gives the truck some more rear travel. And what this is all about is they wanted to give you the Slash experience with this truck. And what a lot of people like about the Slash is how the chassis rolls, how the suspension drops out. Give you that full off-road experience. You get to see that suspension move. A lot of people like that. And so that's what this setup does. However, you could go and tune it. You could take it out. And if you want to go hit the track with it, have it more stable, you remove that piece and the truck will drop down in the rear and just give you that better stability. And then you could go one step farther. And if you would like to go and take your truck out on the street, if you're in that lower position of the shock setup and change out your springs, this thing will handle really well on the road. The rear suspension, similar to the front as far as the arms go, they've got solid looking rear hubs. Screw pins throughout. I like the solid pins with the little screw that retains them, but we got screw pins in this truck. And then inboard, you've got the aluminum plates front and rear. And since wheels and tires fit into the suspension category, let's talk about what's on all four corners. They have belted tires so it doesn't expand. And some people like that depending on the type of drive that you're doing. And then it bolts to the axles with a 17mm hex. On the outside, you got an 8mm nut with this thick washer, but if you want to upgrade to their 17mm hex hubs, you could do that. Let's get into the drivetrain now. They now have an aluminum diff cup on the center diff. It's a torque biasing diff, I believe is what they call it in their instruction manual, but it's got the Maxx duty gears on the inside, metal main gear, and then they've got metal gears throughout. A huge pinion gear on this thing. Full ball bearings, of course. The differentials are sealed, filled with fluid from the factory, a stiffer fluid. And then it goes down to the Maxx style rear differential, and there's a Maxx differential in the front. Those have the composite diff cups on it, but they can be upgraded to the aluminum cup if you want to do it like you have it in the center. Push drive in there to help protect the drivetrain. Let's just talk about the center shaft really quickly. It's a aluminum spline shaft, much similar to the other trucks, four-wheel drive trucks that they have in their lineup. For the drive shafts going out from the differentials, they've made some revisions. They went and molded metal pieces into those drive shafts so the end don't split on you. In the electronics department, we've got all Traxxas gear in this truck, starting with the 2090 Maxx size servo. This has like 285 inches of torque. To the side of it basically is the water resistant receiver case. Inside is a TQI receiver. That's because this truck is fitted with TSM. So that means they also gave you the TQI radio system, which has some adjustability to it. You can install their link module, use their link app, all that good stuff. Even put it into a training mode. Behind the receiver box is their VXL6S speed controller. Look at the size of that thing, absolutely massive. Big wires, they got their ID plugs on it. And then behind that is a 2000 kV motor. I like that the wires are clipped in so they're not bouncing around. Actually, probably would have liked if they did that with the main battery connector wires as well, because I've had these pop out a couple times. And finally, inside the box, a little sparse on the extras here. We got a jumper plug in case you want to go and use a 4S battery pack, and then they give you some basic tools, some decals, your instruction manual, parts breakdown. And the need list for this truck is 4 AA batteries for the transmitter, either a 4S LiPo battery pack or 2 3S LiPo battery packs to power it, and of course, a charger. Now that you know all the important features of the Maxx Slash, let's talk about turning this one into an ultimate Maxx Slash. Ultimate is a term that Traxxas uses for a number of the vehicles that they offer. They have a Ultimate X Max, an Ultimate XRT, an Ultimate Rustler 4x4, and they don't have one of the Maxx Slash, but I want to make one. So I went and got every option part that Traxxas offers for this truck, and that's what we're going to throw onto this beast right here. And here's all the Traxxas option parts I have to make my truck an ultimate. I went with a green and blue theme. Since the body itself is blue, I wanted to tie that in and give it a little extra styling with the green. And that's one thing you don't get with one of the factory ultimates, is you can't mix and match the colors. And if you go build it up yourself, obviously you get to choose whatever you want. I'm just gonna run through, get this thing all built up, and show you what it looks like when it's all done. My Ultimate Maxx Slash build is finally complete, and this thing looks wild. Everything went together really smooth. Now, I need to hit the throttle on this Maxx Slash. Let's head outside. With the Maxx Slash being a short course truck, I had to, of course, try it out of the track. We're just gonna get a few laps in here. And I'm up at RC Madison, Enfield, Connecticut. Doesn't like the air. Just like a regular short course truck, it's getting a lot of air under it here. Got a couple of vents in the back, but I think the body needs to be vented some more. A lot of chassis roll, a lot of extra weight in this truck. Probably should have tried it out bone stock before I put all the weight in. Plenty of power in this thing. Oh, I need to stop driving it like a basher and start driving it more like a race truck. There we go, just finesse it. Roll into the throttle. There we go, now I'm getting it. All right, guys, I'm getting a little dirt mountain bashing in. I think this is where this thing is really gonna be at home. Been driving it around a little bit so far for the close-up action stuff. And I love the way this thing is set up now. This is really where it's at. Adding that riser to the front really helps this truck out. Watch the TSM kick in there a little bit, just save that jump. Yeah, major air there, and landed it. This truck was neat on the track, but I mean, this is just too cool. If you have this type of spot to run the Maxx Slash, I think this is where you're gonna have the most fun. Blast that turn, so sick. Blast the reverse direction, yeah. Oh man. I think I hit the jump in this direction. Full throttle. Yeah. Oh, a crash. Still saved it. Yeah, loving this thing. Oh man. This is killer here. This is where I've had the most fun with the Maxx Slash. Oh, that was a major send. Did I land it? Not touching it? I landed it. Look at that. Killer. Fly at us here. Yeah. One more big one. We'll start from there. Oh, full throttle. And it survived. Thing's a beast. One more try. Coming through the rough. Yeah. I think I landed it. There it is. This thing is sick. Come from over here and launch it. That was killer. This truck's been lurking around the workshop for a while now, and it's time to wrap up this video, show you guys the final build, talk about the performance and things that I think you might need to get for it. So first up, I did get to drive one of these trucks stock, and I just wanted to talk about a couple of things that I noticed in the stock form. One of them is when you pull this thing out of the box, it doesn't seem like the suspension is set up right. You really need to set the ride height before you even go out and drive it. That means adjusting the preload collars to push down on the springs so the truck is level, so it's got a little bit of droop. You don't want the suspension totally maxed out so it's at full ride height. You just want that nice middle level where, you know, the rear axles are are about level, and then you can go out and drive. And when I did go and drive a stock truck, I noticed that the servo was a bit soft. This is a big truck that the thing is moving around, and I really think that you need to go with an upgrade servo at some point to really get the most out of the steering. And I noticed it when I went and drove my project truck here, my ultimate build, the steering was a lot better with the aftermarket servo. And so there's two little things that I noticed about actually three things that I want to tell you about the stock truck. I also think you need to vent the rear of the body a little bit more. It was catching a lot of air when I was jumping it. Now into the build here, lots of cool stuff went on this truck, and it was basically to show you what is available for the truck. No, I don't think you should go out and buy every single part unless you like to build up crazy project vehicles, go for it. But Traxxas does have a lot of cool options for it, and there are a few that I think you really need to get. But first, I just wanted to go over what the truck looks like really quick. So up front, you know, the blue arms, those are very cool. Just a customizing type of thing. I like the hardened hinge pins. That's an option I would definitely say, you know, put on your wish list at some point. Even the aluminum pin caps are pretty cool to get. I like the aluminum steering knuckles and the caster blocks as well. Is it an absolute must? I wouldn't replace it unless you broke it, or again, if you want to have something cool on your truck. They are holding up well. I like the hardened axles as well. Those new axles seem to work fine, but I do like the CV style setup. Then moving into the steering changes that I made to the truck. Again, definitely the servo upgrade is pretty awesome. They have an aluminum servo horn for it. I would suggest, you know, checking that or getting that when you get the servo. And then the Bellcranks. Those are a really nice option as well. Got ball bearings in there. The drag link bar has bushings in it. And then the steering rods, just for the ability to adjust the toe. That's a pretty cool option to get. I also went and threw the motor mount assembly in there. It's a two-piece. You can buy it separately, so I have a blue motor mounting plate, and then the green support mount. I think I like these pieces because they're, you know, better than composite, and they're holding up that heavy motor. And then the rear, pretty much the same stuff that's in the front. You know, I changed out the pins, the arms, the axles, and the rear hubs. Aluminum rear hubs are always nice on a basher vehicle. Oh, shock caps. I think the shock caps are an absolute must, especially if you're bashing hard. That's definitely one of the things that's on my little list here of things to remind myself to talk to you guys about. Rear wheelie wheels. I don't know about these. They kind of just seem to be here for show. They look pretty cool. You can throw them on your list if you want. Threw the LED lights on. That's very cool if you're running at dusk. And the one thing about this though, is they don't give you risers to go and mount the lighting module. So you just kind of have to put some screws in there with some Loctite. If you're running the aluminum plate on the stock plate, I think it works just fine. But this aluminum plate, that's a pretty nice option as well. So driving a fully modded Ultimate Maxx Slash, it's got a lot of weight to it. It's definitely noticeable. And when I drove it on the track, it was okay. I mean, it really just rolled a lot in the corners because there was so much weight. And I made some changes to the shocks I'm gonna go over in a minute. When I first went out, I had stock rear springs, Maxx front springs off of my Maxx Monster truck, and just the 60-weight oil all the way around. The suspension was just way too soft, and I noticed that the front was just way too low. And the rear has those riser blocks that I talked to you guys about. And I really think they should have included those in the front. That's on my notes as well. They should have included those in the kit so we could use those, so we could have that adjustment, I think, because I think it really needs those risers in the front for, you know, all-out bashing type of driving. On the track, I had an okay time driving it. Where I really had a lot of fun was just all-out bashing this in the dirt lot over the big mountains and through the loose sand. I mean, that's where this truck was just an absolute blast. Sending it off those mountains, it was a true monster. That's where I felt this truck was at home. And I actually made some changes before I went to that lot, just based on, you know, what I learned at the track. And so what I did was I changed out the oils and the shocks again, went up to 80 weight all the way around, went with blue springs in the front and green in the rear, and they are the rear Maxx springs all the way around. So it's got the longer springs in the front. I put the risers on the bottom in the front, and the truck was so much better to drive. It handled so much better. It
It handled the big air, it handled the rough stuff, and that's where the suspension really worked for me, and that's when the truck was the most fun. The steering was on point with the better servo. That's where I loved the Maxx Slash. Just bashing with a few suspension mods, servo upgrade, this truck is killer. The only other two things that I need to ding this truck on are I did blow a rear tire and just pulled it off the wheel, so I'm gonna have to re-glue that. And the disassembly of this truck, it is time consuming. You're gonna spend some time on the workbench if you want to go access the diffs and you know, swap out your oils and such. You know, everything is modular. However, it takes a lot of screws to pull out before you could actually remove that module, and then there's more screws to get to the parts that you need. So working on this truck, it's gonna take you some time. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that large overview of the Maxx Slash. Had a lot of fun making this video. Hit that subscribe button, links in the video description, and we'll see you back soon for some more RC Driver videos.